and welcome back to The Point. I'm, of course, your host, Eric Mitchell. We got a good show for you today. It's a wonderful Women Wednesday. So what's that mean? That means we have an inspiring, powerful, awesome female entrepreneur and leader on our show to talk about empowering women. That's what we're going to talk about today. And our guest today is Melissa Fino, like I said at the beginning, just so we make sure we have everybody on the same page of who we're dealing with. You know, I'm fast with names or forget names. That happens quite often on this show. So today's guest is Melissa Fino. So let's get to today's guest right now because it makes more sense than you guys just stuck talking to me all the time. Melissa, how are you doing today?
I'm absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for inviting me on today.
Yes, welcome to our wonderful show. It's great to have you here. So, how have you been during COVID-19? I guess that's the question I lead off with everybody because it's important to kind of know where everybody's at. We have to like buddy check is what we call it in the military. So I kind of do that with every guest. Like, how has COVID-19, this pandemic, been for you?
Well, it's definitely been an interesting time. I would have to say that. I definitely had to pivot a lot in my business. I know that word pivot is a big thing for everyone right now. And that's when I was doing a group coaching program, stopped selling it, and decided to offer a whole lot of free resources for my community, with which they were able to kind of, do stuff while they were at home, whether it was goal setting or planning or different things. And after that, I actually wrote my first book, Little Miss Perfect.
I love it. That is great. So let me ask you about that, and we'll just pop up here. Hi, I'm over your shoulder. I love technology. So your book, Little Miss Perfect, how long did it take you to write and publish that? Did you write that during COVID?
No. So I actually wrote the book. Yes.
I was like, wow, if you wrote that during COVID and got it published, I'm high-fiving you all the way from up Pacific Northwest down to SoCal. A high five going right there.
I actually wrote the book when I finished graduate school. And that was about 7 years ago. I think it was right when the publishing industry was changing. So I had pitched myself to a whole bunch of publishers, and it didn't really pan out for my way. So I shelved the book and then picked it up right a month after COVID happened. I rewrote it, and I think that it was good that it didn't get published when I originally wrote it because I have done so much more work on myself personally that I was able to be more vulnerable and truthful and authentic.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that. It's good to focus on those things. And you focus on perfectionism, which I think that is a great topic. As I have a 16-year-old daughter who lives in the home. We are very close, but she struggles with the same thing that her father struggles with, which is this drive to be perfect. I don't know if it's a military thing, especially coming from a branch like the Marine Corps, very outspoken, very prideful, very, everything is precise and driven. I've unfortunately passed that bug over to especially my daughter, who is just amazing, just crushing it in everything that she does, which my wife and I are excited about. But perfectionism, why do you think, women struggle so much with perfectionism? Because I've heard it from my wife when I was reviewing, the guests coming on the show. I always kind of bounce my questions and, initial talking points off my wife. And she was like, that's a great question. So why do you think women struggle with perfectionism so much?
Well, there's 3 different kinds of perfectionism. I think it's familial, where someone in your family kind of has placed that on you, or you see that, so you think that that's how you have to be. You have to mimic those behaviors. There's societal, when you see everything going on in social media and you see it all as real and you think you have to uphold yourself to that standard. Or there's personal, where it's just there's something that you're kind of hiding from, so you think that if you strive to be perfect, nobody will notice the one thing that you're hiding in the background. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times with women especially, we struggle with perfectionism because we're trying to uphold old standards and values that are no longer existent in this world. It's almost like we have this blueprint for life from 20, 40, 60 years ago of how we have to follow all of our patterns. Mm-hmm. or experiences. And then if we don't follow those, then we think that we've kind of stepped out from someone else. So it makes us imperfect. So we have to become perfect in another way.
Oh, I like that. That's a good breakdown. So let's kind of shift. We're talking about mindsets, and I know that you're friends with Nick Pigeon, and she's amazing. And we talk about, this mind shift, mind shift shifts. And, what are some key mind shift shifts? I swear. I just need to say it like Nick does, but she gets it with that cool English accent, so it just sounds better than me saying it. I'm super envious of her accent. I'm just like, seriously.
She makes everything sound better.
Right? Like everything. I'm like, just read this menu to me, and it probably sounds better than me reading it. But I'm saying key mind shifts. So, what are some of those key mind shifts that, in empowering beliefs? What are some tips around that? Some key mind shift keys. There we go. I got it all out. So what are those, what are some key ones?
I think that we are so often focused on the result that we lose track of what's happening in the moment. So it's kind of like just refocusing, getting back into the present moment, and take the emphasis off of what the result is, because oftentimes when we only focus on the result, we miss everything else that's happening around us.
Yeah.
And it's also something big for me is to kind of like shifting on your fears to actually being exciting opportunities. So I always say it's like a light switch. You turn it on and you shift it from always seeing something as really scary to taking a dive in and seeing it as an exciting opportunity and possibility to become all that you desire.
I like that a lot. So let's follow it up with this one, which I think is important. And Lisa Bodenberg, I don't know if you're familiar with Lisa, and you've trained her, obviously. Like another, it's like 6 degrees of separation, or it's like the Kevin Bacon thing here in my show. Like, sorry, every guest ties along. But we talk about this a lot, Lisa talks about it, especially being a Marine, about women holding themselves back, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to doing things and feeling accomplished. Now, I don't know what that's like, because obviously I'm a male and haven't had that, but women, as we were, raised, we're always kind of different, right? If you think about the way our country has treated women, just like the way it treats minorities in our country, it's kind of like we're old-fashioned about it. And now women are leading the charge. You have so many leaders in place that are women. I mean, look, even one of our vice presidential candidates is the first ever Black woman, which is amazing, and we're excited. Kamala Harris is amazing and from California. So why do you think, what holds women back? What is something that what does that hold them back, and how do we change that so they're not going to hold back anymore? We want more women out there, more amazing leaders like yourself, like Nick Pidge, like Lisa Bodenberg. I almost dropped profanity on my own show. See, it's because Lisa's a Marine. It's natural when you start talking about them, get all fired up. But how do we get more women to, instead of holding back, come forward and just go for it?
Oh, I am all about this. And this is what my book is all about as well. And you said old-fashioned, so old-fashioned kind of sticks with me. My parents both immigrated to the States from Portugal. So I was raised in a very old school Catholic traditional home. And those were the values that I kind of had steered from. And for a while, it's why I had a hard time identifying what my own personal values were, because those were so strict on me. But as I continued to grow on, I had told you, I dropped out of high school. That's how much I didn't really know myself personally. And I had a lot of time where I was extremely comfortable, and I wasn't challenging myself. I wasn't doing a lot of things that I should have been doing. And then I returned back to school, graduated with honors, got into USC. I started taking action, and I realized that action is the one thing that actually changes everything. But for so many women, we tell ourselves the story that we've told ourselves for so long that holds us back. And for me, my personal story that held me back was that I was a high school dropout. I couldn't be more, because I was a high school dropout.
Wow, a high school dropout. I love hearing these stories. What's amazing is so many people, and I'm not encouraging, by the way, audience, I'm not encouraging you to drop out of high school, but the high school dropouts that I've spoken to have turned out to be amazing human beings. Like their drive and their passion. It's amazing where you get that. Because so often we're raised, again, we're going to talk about old fashioned. I come from an Irish family, raised with this. If you don't graduate from high school, you'll never make it. You are a failure in people's eyes. And people still say that when it comes to GEDs. And remember when people were remote learners back in the day, oh, if you don't go to a high school year, that's not a real diploma. Well, the seniors of 2020 will probably disagree with you. And it looks like most of the seniors of 2021 probably will say the same thing because they're technically remote learners. It's what's a crack up. So we're kind of short on time here, and I want to make sure we get everything out. But one thing that I do want to ask you, and it's my final question before we do the whole how we connect with you and how do we order your book, because those are things that are important. But this is what I have for you. What do you want to let that inner business babe, or the business babe that's listening out there, mind you, the word babe was written by my production team, which, by the way, is Jordan Gelber. If anybody's out there, I did not use the word babe in any sentences. I did not write these. So anybody knows, Jordan Gelber, who you see as my co-host all the time, she wrote these. So we're going to blame her. I don't want anybody thinking I'm that guy who's just like, hey, calling people dear and all that stuff. I don't know why. I see those interviews and people, male hosts are always like, hey, dear or whatever, it just drives me nuts. Anyways, but I love this question. That's why I'm reading it word for word. Finally, what do you want to let that business babe that's, listening know? Are there any words of encouragement that you would give to somebody who's maybe sitting in the same place you were a few years ago, right? Kind of doesn't know. I mean, COVID's causing that. A lot of people are sitting at home. A lot of people have lost jobs. They don't know where they're at. They're finding their voice. And now they're the breadwinner. And so many, I'm seeing this with friends and people that we work with, that the husband has lost the job and the wife still has the job and it's actually really good and they're the breadwinner. And it's taking some humble pie for the male species in the house to deal with wife's now going off to work and traveling. She has the better of the job, and the husband is the significant other, is the house mouse, as I like to say. So what do you have for the boss babes that are out there that are like, oh my God, I want to be like Melissa, or I've seen Nick, or I've seen Lisa, right? I mean, Lisa's different because she's a door gunner in the Marine Corps and posts all those cool videos where she's flying around shooting guns in the middle of the night from a helicopter.
She's amazing.
Right? She's just amazing. She's like, you're just like, I'm not worthy. But what's your advice out there to those ladies that are watching and are just like, inspire me. How do I get to where you're at?
So to that successful woman who's afraid to stand in her power in the moment right now, or to the boss babe, or whatever we want to refer to them at the moment, I say completely, your story, you are not your story at all. That repeated thought process in your head, you are not that story. But for some reason, that story, it makes you want to go and help other females, to go and to inspire you to go out there and change their lives as well. But for so many of you, that same story is the same story that holds you back from actually doing it. So it's really weird. And what I say to those people who are scared to share their story and to step into their power is to allow your purpose to be greater than your ego.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Wow, wow, that's good. I like that. That's awesome. So that leads to a question. So you get an additional question out of this, because I'm now like, So one of the questions that I really want to kind of ask is, why is now? Obviously, COVID is a perfect time, but if you're a professional businesswoman and you're out there, why is now the perfect time to start an online business? Now, I've seen people do, affiliate marketing. We've talked to a whole bunch of folks doing that. We've seen clothing lines like the one I'm rocking right now. Zaya is an amazing, lifestyle brand. If the world wants to live in leggings, it's the brand that you should go for. Has a good men's line. That's why we're rocking this amazing hoodie and shirt underneath. But when you look at that and folks look at that, why is now? Why would you say now for the professional businesswoman? Now is the time to start an online business and drive forward. I mean, obviously for me, I know part of the answer is folks like you and Nick Pigeon, who are amazing, have these master classes and these ways to do this, and amazing books like your book. Why is now the best time?
because the economy is kicking brilliant women out of the industry, of the workforce, of not providing them childcare, not providing them with help for their parents, different things. So it's 4 out of 5 women, right? No, 1 out of, sorry, I got the statistics wrong. It's 4 times higher than men right now, or of women who are dropping out of the workforce, which is incredible. Yeah. And I think it's so many women who have worked corporate roles and work so hard for the man, building up businesses for someone else, and have all of these marketable strengths that they can bring into transitioning online, working for themselves.
That is awesome. So before you go, you get to do the fun part. This is the fun part of the show. It's like the cool infomercial part of the show. So we've been talking about your book, and we've been talking about the amazing things that you do. So how do folks connect with you? And I'm going to assume on my own that the best place to find your book, probably besides on your website, is to go to that beautiful thing called Amazon.com and plug in your book name and find it. I'm just going to go on a whim there that's where books seem to be found, is on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Somebody always goes, somebody actually wrote me, and I love the name of the book, Little Miss Perfect, because I'm thinking of the little books that when I was telling my daughter at breakfast this morning, I was interviewing you and we were talking about your book. She's like the little ones? Like the Little Miss, no, not the little, like Little Miss Angry, Little Miss Sunshine, Little Miss Messy. You know, you could tell which ones we gave to my daughter, because she was like, that'd be cool. I'm like, no, those books have been around for a long time. This isn't the person. But so also shout out to people, remind me every time I talk about books, just so you know, Melissa, Barnes and Noble also sells books online, apparently. I was told that we could get books there too. So go to Barnes and Noble, Little Miss Perfect. So your website, I mean, how can people follow you, connect with you, get a hold of you, all that good stuff? Let us know.
Everything is Love Your Life Community. My website is Love Your Life Community, or Melissa Fino. My social media is all Love Your Life Community. And the book is available on Amazon. Unfortunately, it's not available on Barnes and Noble, but yes, I would like to get it there at some point, because I do think that that's a really smart idea. Yeah.
Hey, I win. See, I tell people I purposely don't say Barnes and Noble, because I've heard that not all books go there. Mm-hmm. And here's an occurrence where I was right. See people sending me messages, see when they do that. But anyways, Melissa, I want to thank you for joining us. Everybody go out and check out all your website, follow you on socials, what we always do, and go pick up the book and leave us a review. And make sure if you do get the book, you leave a review on Amazon. That's right, Melissa? That's what at least we can still do that. Get something right in this interview, right? Just make sure I'm talking about promoting to go to your Barnes and Noble to get your book. But maybe you can email Barnes & Noble if you want and ask them if they'll carry the book, and then Melissa will thank you later on. But I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been great. Thank you for doing what you do. It's an amazing mission, just like I tell Lisa and Nick all the time. Your mission as a father of 2 beautiful daughters, it is great to see that, because my wife didn't have that coming up, and she always tells that to our girls all the time, talking about, I wish we had more female role models out there to guide, because it's hard, because we know all of us have careers and work and we're trying to figure it out, and we need role models, and it's not something that we're used to. And I think a perfect example has been from, if you look at the WNBA, which I'm a huge fan of and we talk about all the time here, Sue Bird came out and said, look, we're not the soccer people. I know you're used to the little blonde soccer players that you see for Team USA, but we're different. We're tall, we're lanky. You know, people don't understand that we evolve. You know, we've done college, we're all older, we're injured. You know, we kind of do our own thing, and you don't understand us because we're tall and you treat us like freaks of nature, but a lot of them own amazing businesses. So having folks like you out there that can encourage and inspire folks, I mean, come on, a high school dropout to a successful business, entrepreneur, that's a success story all by itself. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Melissa. And everybody else out there, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.